guys, I'm Bushcraft Hamster, and I wanted to show you today how to dehydrate food for bushcraft and camping purposes, that kind of thing. I do this quite a lot, and it saves a lot of space and a lot of weight when you're out and about. Now basically what you need for this is one of these, which is a dehydrator. You can make one yourself. You can make solar dehydrators. It's not something I've done, but there's a lot of stuff on the internet. You know, stick it into Google and you'll likely come across with a plan. This one I purchased for about £35. It's one of the cheaper ones on the market, and basically it is, what is in effect, a hairdryer, which then blows into a series of perforated trays, and what it will do, it will force hot air downwards through here, and it will then blow the moisture out the top of the lid. Now this particular video I'm going to show you how to dehydrate some vegetables. I'll do another one that covers making things like biltong and beef jerky and stuff like that, which is something I also make quite regularly. But to start off with, what you want to do is take some vegetables. So I've chosen carrots, just because it's what I had available today. And all you really want to do is, first of all, peel them. And you can leave the skins on. It just makes it slightly longer to dehydrate them. And what you want to do, you want to cut these down to sort of maybe centimetre thick chunks. So about this kind of size. This one trying to escape. And just throw them into a pan. What you want to do, once you have finished doing all of these, and you can do as much or as little of this as you like. Once they're in the pan, you basically want to boil them for probably 8 to 10 minutes. You don't want them completely soft, but you do want them soft enough that they can start to dehydrate. And again, you can do this raw, and I have done that. Unfortunately, they take an absolute age to dry. I mean, usually something like this will take anything between 5 to 8 hours, depending on your dehydrator. For me, I usually find about 6 or 7 is about right, and then I'll go into more detail on this a little bit later on. But you basically need to make sure that it's completely dried all the way through, because if there's any moisture left in these, once you're trying to store them, they will develop mould, and they'll basically just go bad. And if you've got some good stuff in there mixed in with some stuff that's got a little bit of moisture in, you'll lose the whole lot. So let me get the rest of these peeled, and I'll show you where we go from there. Okay, so I've got my my carrots just put on the hob, and I'm going to leave these to simmer away for about 10 minutes. What I'm going to do while that's cooking, I'm just going to prepare some other vegetables. Now, onion is something I use quite a lot when I'm camping, and again, I mean, you can stick a whole onion in your pack if you want to. There's no problem with that. By doing it this way, although onions aren't heavy, a dehydrated onion is much lighter. And I find what you can do, and I'll do another video about this at some point, basically you can take a whole load of dehydrated ingredients, stick them into either a Ziploc bag or something that you want to put together, and you can do that with the meats, you can do that with the veg, you can do it with everything really, and you can take sort of one whole meal in a very small container. And basically, all you do is you add a bit of water, stick it into a pot, stick it over your fire for an hour or so, and what will happen is everything will rehydrate, and you've basically only had to carry a fraction of the weight that you would have. This also works for fruit as well. You know, I've done mango, I've done apple, I've done pear. Berries tend to be a little bit tricky, but they can be done. Okay, so this pan has been boiling for about 10 minutes. Got a good rolling boil on there, which is bad enough. Let me get one of these out. So basically, here is a little bit of carrot. The knife actually passes through that really easily. I'm not putting any pressure on there at all, and that's just about enough of sort of it being softened for our purposes. So my next step from there would be just take everything out of the pan. I'm going to leave the water in there, and the reason I do that is obviously you get a lot of the nutrients boil out as these are being heated in the pan. And what I'll do is I'll put my next batch of vegetables straight into that water. I'm not sure if it actually gives it any nutritional value at all, but I figure there's no point chucking away a load of water. You know, if you've got particular vegetables that maybe you like and people you're planning on giving this to won't, you know, if you're going to start off with something like onion, and you've got people who don't like that, then maybe, you know, leave those till last or something. So before I do anything else, I'm just going to stick the onion straight into the water there. Also going to throw half of it around my cooker, apparently. Get the rest of that in there. Right, so that's another vegetable back in there. And while that's starting to boil off, all you want to do is take single pieces of carrot. I usually start at the very middle of the tray and just sort of work round in a sort of almost spiral pattern, I suppose. So that's one tray. You want to make sure there's plenty of space so that the air can get in, out and around all of this. And once you've filled one tray, just literally grab another, stick it over the top and start on another layer. So that's second tray filled. And again, the other benefit of doing this, I find, is that if you've got vegetables in your fridge, they're not going to last particularly long. You know, they're on their way out or something like that. You can give them a quick blitz in a pan, stick them in here, and rather than going off and you just having to throw them away or stick them in the compost or whatever it is you do with your vegetables that have turned, this is just another good way of preserving them. And you know, keeping something for a later date. I mean, when these rehydrate, when obviously they're never exactly the same as fresh, but I've had people eat stews and things that I've made out of these, and you know, they really couldn't tell the difference, yeah, unless I've told them in advance. Okay, so we've got a couple of layers of carrots and we have a couple of layers of onion on here. Now, especially with the onion, what you want to make sure is that where you've got big lumps like this, you just separate the individual sort of sections of the onion. The general rule with dehydrating anything like this is that you know, anything that's particularly thick will dry out a lot more slowly than obviously something that's thin. So you want to try and make sure that everything that you're slicing down, keep it a nice uniform thickness, and obviously this kind of thing, especially with stuff like this, make sure that you know, you're not packing things in. If you're onion, it's slightly different, but obviously anything bigger than that or anything particularly thick, just make sure that you've got plenty of space around it and they're not all sitting on top of each other.
Now, I've actually had a couple of these dehydrators. The first one I had broke on me. I must admit I was trying to make a huge batch of beef jerky, and I put far too much in, and I was running it constantly for the entire weekend, and I'm pretty sure that I burnt the motor out. But as a result, I've got a few more extra ones of these trays than you would normally have. As long as you've got at least 6 of them in, which is how many it comes with, you should be fine. Any less than that and you've got a risk of things heating up too quickly and potentially burning in there. Now this has got no temperature control, no temperature settings. More expensive ones you can get on the market do, and I've never felt the need to buy one. You know, if you look at go online, I think there's books you can buy about this as well for dehydrating things. I've never really felt the need to, but some of them do. You know, some people say you should have you know, between 50 and 60 degrees for certain things you want to dehydrate. Other temperatures are higher, other are lower. This is just a single temperature. I think it's about 70 degrees if memory serves. And all you do is you turn this on. Hopefully you can still hear me over this. And leave this running for 6, 7, 8 hours. What you do want to do is come back to it from time to time and just swap these trays over, which I'll do in an hour or so's time, just to give you an example. And that's pretty much it. And all you need to do, you walk away, just leave it to run. You know, I've got let me just see this here. I've actually got a timer here that allows me to set it up for however long I want to go for. That just allows me, if I want to leave this running overnight, I can set it for 8 hours. It'll automatically turn off when that's done, and you know, I wake up and everything should be finished in the morning. Okay guys, so it's been about an hour, and I'm just about to swap around the trays and cycle everything around so nothing gets too hot sort of down at the bottom where all the heat collects. But what I wanted to do was just show you kind of where we are after an hour. I don't know how well you can see this, but things are starting to dry out. Obviously they're nowhere near done yet, but it's the you know, the moisture has sort of disappeared from the top. You know, you've got sort of almost like a slightly dry sheen sort of appearing on the top of all of these now, and that'll just continue to get more and more pronounced as things go on. What I also wanted to show you was some of the carrots, and again I'm not sure if the camera will pick this up, but you've kind of got a difficult to try and describe, but you've kind of got a little bit of a sheen on here. Just about sort of see it's starting, you know, you haven't got that fresh sort of newly cut or newly boiled appearance anymore. You've got a slight sort of drying out, which you may or may not be able to see there. And basically, so I've swapped these completely round, so the top is now at the bottom's now at the top, and that's what I'll do each time I swap these. And basically, I'll carry on doing this now for the next sort of 4 or 5 hours, checking on them periodically, swapping them over. If you're doing this overnight, you know, you don't have to swap them. I just find you tend to get a much more even sort of distribution of heat, etc. If you do it that way. So I'll carry this on now, and I'll come back once we're fully dried out. Okay guys, so I've left this overnight, and it should now be done. In fact we are. Just to give you an idea, so you can now see just how much these have shrunk. I mean, obviously in comparison to what these looked like yesterday, they are now tiny. That's the carrots, and that's the onion. Now, as you can see, the onion tends to go quite dark. You know, this is really dry now. This will crack, kind of, if you give it a bit of pressure. And that is pretty much it. Now, before you do anything with this, you need to let it cool down. 2 reasons for that. Because there's a heating element inside this dehydrator, what it will do, everything's quite warm, so although it's now shrunk and it's dried out, it's still quite, what's the word for it, squashy. You know, you can still move things around a little bit. Now what you need to do is wait until that's completely cooled down, and then it will basically go rock solid. What you should do once it's cold, just give everything a little bit of a squeeze. If there's any movement in there, stick it back on for another half hour or an hour, because it's not completely dried out. It's very difficult to tell that when it's still warm, because obviously because it's warm, it still has a bit of flex and a bit of give in there. So I'm going to let that cool down and do its thing. What I wanted to show you is basically these kilner jars are what I use to store this stuff in, and this is some carrot I did a while back. You can sort of get an idea there what they look like, and I use kilner jars because they're airtight. So basically, these have probably been in here 6 to 8 months maybe. I don't know exactly how long they will last for, but you know, I'll have no concerns about leaving them in there for over a year, if not longer. A couple of other things that you can make with these. This is sweet corn. I mean, you can buy this kind of thing in the shops. Personally, I got a tin of regular sweet corn, blanched it for a couple of minutes in hot water, and then let it dehydrate. I mean, sweet corn doesn't weigh a great deal anyway, but it takes the moisture out, and obviously, you know, you lose at least half the weight, if not more. Onion, which is obviously what we've been making, along with the carrots, and again, you know, this is all stuff that I keep in these jars, ready for if I'm going away to a bushcraft trip, do a couple of overnighters. This one, always quite good for a stew, is leeks. Personally, I quite like these in a stew. And the last one, which may be of more use to people if you're not doing a lot of bushcraft but you want to give this kind of thing a try, this is garlic. Now all you do is you take your garlic cloves, slice them up into small sections. This doesn't actually shrink as much as other things do, and I don't normally bother parboiling this or anything like that. The benefit of this kind of stuff, the onion and the garlic especially for me, is once these are dried out, they're extremely hard and they're extremely brittle. So what you can do, you can throw those in a pestle and mortar, grind them up, maybe throw a little bit of salt and pepper in there with them. Stick that in your Ziploc bag that you're going to put everything else in, and basically that gives you a nice base, gives you a little bit of seasoning for a stock. You know, you could throw some gravy granules in there, or you know, whatever it is you like to put in with these kind of things. But I hope that was useful. As I say, I will make one for some beef jerky and some biltong shortly, and I'll also do a separate video on using all these ingredients and putting them into a pack or a bag, so you can make you know, trail food, that kind of thing. You can also use things like fruits in this, so you can take apples, pears, bananas. Supposedly you can do berries. I've had limited success with them, but I'll do a short video about that at some point as well. And certainly dried fruit makes really good trail mix. But if you want to see me make anything else in this, or you want to see me do anything in one of my other videos, let me know in the comments. If not, you know, by all means hit subscribe. And sorry, I've got a cat down here who's asking for food. But yeah, hit subscribe if you want to see me do more of this stuff, or throw me a comment. Thanks a lot.